Spiritual body. The things and the incidents that are visible and audible come from the invisible and unaudible worlds. The tangible things are born from the integration of the untangibles. On everything in the nature a layer of the invisible body respectively covers. And just as they wish they branch forth and fruit. The mountains, the stones and the plants are all the same. Namely, the spiritual body exists in all creatures and bases their actual body. Among them man is made so exquisitely and owns the higher spiritual body and perfectly able to conduct a life of both for the spiritual and the flesh bodies. If man does not know these things, man who even has the superb fuselage cannot control of oneself. Namely, if man does not notice and know about how one's body is made so precise, one keeps staying in the ignorance and cannot use one's body oneself smartly. The spirit that is the center of man is also the center of one's house. It always watches how a life of family is kept and sometimes consults with the divine conference of the four-dimensional spiritual world, and if the world requires, it attends to the divine conference of this world. It plans what to do between the spiritual world and this world and takes actions accordingly. It has the nature also to instruct what to do oneself. The spiritual body is under the protection of the owner's spirit of the house. The spiritual body is brought from the four-dimensional spiritual world, and whatever the experiences are gained for its growth, they turn out to be good. Even if it were contaminated and distorted by the vulgars of this world, once it has returned to the spiritual world, it becomes totally pure, white, clean. The spiritual body in this earthly world would tend to be different through the various circumstances from the original in the first place. Because it is a world of discipline in which the most of people are distorted. So this time the gods appear in the earthly world with the flesh bodies get together to establish the world of theocracy. Each with one's respective mission is put under the circumstances to clear up all the dusts and the distortions. The spiritual body has been contaminated by the various faiths. It does not emit its will. The spirit's will and Haku's will, namely a mind, forms the body. The spiritual body is born from a mind that is composed of the spirit and the God spirit. It covers the flesh body. It extends vast, and sometimes it happens to be infinitely contaminated and gets sick. An influence on the spiritual body always brings the flesh body with some forms of consequence. And it can control the flesh body. Man can connect with one's spirit if one has returned to the state of the spirit that is clean and pure white and is given by the original gods. The bad relationships will be gone and remain only the clean, clear goods. Because of it, the things gather on one's body called the goods. The God spirit becomes free to work, and its flesh and spiritual bodies splendidly get healthy. The actions get quicker and smarter. It is the three-dimensional world where all lives vividly. Man's color so is vigorous and elegant. The heaven and the earth celebrate one's existence. Man who leads a worthwhile life appreciates the significance of the meaning that one has come from the heaven. And with the joy one becomes the real man who is to complete the task of the gods. All the religions, the teachings are the truth-seekings aim to reach the entrance of a journey for the gods by the purification of the spiritual body. To lead a mental guidance and disposing the earthly connections and making the connections with the God spiritual world through this world. Those are to make a considerate and true living according to the divine providence and the law of the gods that rule the whole universe. But still man has to come out of those It is required for everybody to exhibit one's innate divine nature. Since the beginning in this world all the creations have the order. The power of the nature has been working on them. It is unbelievable that man who furnishes the best functions gets dirtied and distorted and forgets one's own capacity and a place where to work. It is regretful that man becomes the deepest sinner and loses the ability to know about one's own spirit and spiritual body. It is really sad to see a competent man turns into the incompetence. To know the true principle of the heaven and how the universe is run are the sources of the wisdom and lead a prudence right. There are the senses that are obtained by the God Spirit and the senses that are obtained by the spiritual and the flesh bodies. Whichever the senses obtained, they must be neat and clean and refined. If any of the senses were darkened or greedy, the others would get dull. To keep the five senses normal is good to control one's spirit. The God-man must always try to accomplish this. If any one of 7 haku gets stronger, for instance man whose emotion only gets stronger, it will disturb the other haku such as the reason or the instinct. If man judges everything under the truth of the original nature of the spirit, man under whatever the circumstance is, could naturally have the power of not making the mistakes and turning the fakes over. Even though it looks clumsy, if it is the truth it really works on man. Time has come for man.